Hello, welcome to this, our gameplay preview for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I'm Mark.
And I'm Ewan.
So Ewan, you recently went to an event in London to check this game out.
I did, and I have to say it's everything I wanted it to be. You know, it's the new game from FromSoftware, who you'll know from Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and it's every bit as incredible as you'd expect a game from those developers to be.
I mean, yeah, straight off the bat, just by looking at it, it is in that same vein, isn't it?
Yeah, so obviously there are going to be inevitable comparisons drawn to Dark Souls, and there are large parts of it that, you know, it definitely feels like you're playing a Soulsborne game, but the way the game moves, it's so much more fluid, and there are all these cool little new systems that tell you are playing something completely new.
Well, I'd love to get into that in a few minutes with you, but first off, story. What is it?
Well,
do you know? Have they told you?
I know bits. So essentially, the game is set in checks notes Sengoku era Japan. I'm really sorry if I murdered the pronunciation of that. I don't think I did. But it's set in like a fictional version of Sengoku era Japan. So there's some mystical touches, there's demons and mythical creatures running around. But the point is, you play as a shinobi warrior who has been tasked with protecting the heir to a divine bloodline. I believe I've got that right. Okay,
so it's a very apparent story. Like, you know, with Dark Souls, that you have to dig for the lore and you have to like create your own character, and it's all a bit woolly as far as that's concerned. But you are actually, your character is your character.
Yes, it's very different to Dark Souls in that respect. Like, there's a very clear story. Your character has an actual voice. He is an actual character, not just some avatar for you to play through with.
Okay.
So the game starts with essentially you screwing up in a pretty bad way. You lose the kid you were supposed to protect. You also lose your arm in the process. And you're then fitted with a cool new prosthetic called a shinobi prosthetic, which comes with all types of cool gadgets, such as the grappling hook, which we've seen used a few times now. And that's pretty much all I got from the story. From there, it's just go out and kill some stuff.
Well, it's good that the combat looks to be pretty decent, though. It looks more Bloodborne-y than anything.
It's certainly like Bloodborne. There's a lot more focus on aggressive play. So what's really cool is that this is it's based on, you know, proper like shinobi combat. It's all about not giving your opponent ground, like keep at them until you can strike a killing blow. So as we're about to see, I believe, this fella here, who I had quite a lot of trouble with. But essentially,
don't say that. You said I killed him in one and it was easy.
I mean, there is about to be a montage of previous deaths.
No.
But essentially what you have to do is you keep at them, and this little orange meter above his head is essentially their poise and balance. You also have one as well, so you keep at them to throw them off their balance, and that's when you're able to do a death strike, such as here, which I screw up because I instinctively jump back and miss my shot, but then you can go back and keep at him. So this meter will drop down as if you back off for too long. So what you have to do is know exactly the right time to keep at them on an attack, or back off and let your own balance regain, essentially, because they will be able to drop a killing strike on you as well.
That sounds so interesting that they've taken what they perfected, you know, with Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and they've given it such a new twist that it's different enough to be its own thing.
Yeah, there's a whole new dimension, and as you'll see here, these are all the previous times I died against this guy, and it's because I kept running in and kind of doing my Dark Souls approach of just pure aggressive play, and that doesn't work. You've really got to think about what you're doing in this game.
So like you say, you have to keep at them. So you do have to be aggressive, but you also have to be thoughtful of where you're attacking from and what kind of stance you're in and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a parry system as well, which you do have to get good at. It's not like Dark Souls where you can get through the game without using it. You have to learn to parry in this.
So you unequivocally have to get good.
You have to get good in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, confirmed.
Wonderful. So you mentioned the shinobi prosthetic and the grapple hook. Do you have any other sort of special abilities or attacks?
You do. So this is like the first hour of the game, so I've got nothing yet. But I think in about 2 minutes we're going to skip ahead a bit to a point where I've got quite a few cool new gizmos and gadgets. So
okay. Well, talk us through them,
Yeah.
and we'll see them in action in a sec.
So here, that's a stealth kill.
Yeah.
The stealth gameplay in this is super, super, super rewarding. It's so much fun. It's not mandatory at all. It's not like there are fail conditions for getting spotted. But what I like to do is scope out an area, find where all the enemies are, and just pick off as many as I can before I get spotted. Which I'm not very good at.
So as you come into a new area, then is there always like a vantage point? Is it you can attack it however you like? There'll be a vantage point, like you say. You like to get up high and spot everybody. Is there like a tagging system or?
There's no tagging system. It is just use your eyes basically. I mean the enemies are quite distinctive, so you can see them. There's no one set vantage point. You can tackle these levels pretty much however you want because there's a real, I mean as you've seen, a real sense of verticality to them.
Sure.
So if you want, you could just run straight in, which is what I'm about to do here. So this is really important actually. I did not check the area for enemies properly. So as I start fighting these guys, what I didn't realise is that there's actually a dude above me to the right shooting cannons down at me.
Oh.
So because I haven't properly checked, that's a really good way to get overwhelmed and die. So I'm obviously about to jump up and deal with this freaky cannon looking dude.
This scrub. What about the enemy designs then? Are they humans? Like what's the deal?
It's that kind of, I mean look at this guy as a prime example.
It's really not human.
It's classic FromSoftware. It's like they're clearly supposed to be humanoid, but they're weird, they're distorted, they're wrong looking.
So I mean it has its own very clear sense of art direction, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. At least it's not just Dark Souls in Japan.
Well, exactly. I mean, for my money, this is the most gorgeous game FromSoftware has ever made.
Wow.
I think there's just so much more going on, and here's a weird little rooster thing.
I bet if you don't kill it, it alerts enemies.
That was my fault. I didn't ask. I probably should have asked, but it does kind of let out a little scream before I kill it there, so I think it is a warning system for enemies.
That's our little squeal. One thing I did want to talk about is the death system. So I think we saw you die a little bit earlier, and you probably die. No, you just died right now. So you can choose to either resurrect or just die. Like explain what that's about.
So there's this great little resurrection system, in that with each run through, you can die once and just get back up and carry on the fight.
Are there any penalties to that?
There are no penalties for doing that. So essentially, the point is you can either get back up and get straight into the fight if you think you had them on the ropes, but they just got a lucky shot in. But what you can also do, which is very interesting, is that you can stay dead for a little bit, wait for your enemies to turn around, and then jump back up because they don't know you're still alive, and just take them out.
I assume that's part of this maybe some sort of story thing, is it?
It probably is. It's yet to be explained in the bits I've played.
Right, okay.
But after you die that second time, you do lose half your XP and you don't get it back.
Is there some sort of bonfire-esque system?
There's a checkpoint system very similar to bonfires in that you can rest at them to restore your capacity for being able to resurrect, but it will bring back all the enemies.
So how does that work with regard to leveling up and like skilling up and all that kind of stuff?
There is a skill tree and there's a level system, and you do get, we can't show the skill tree or level system because that stuff's under embargo, but yeah, you can upgrade your arm, you can upgrade your health, and you can do all of this with XP you gain from enemies. So try not to die, because obviously losing half your XP when you need to spend that on upgrades is not ideal.
Well, I assume if you do die, you can wait a little bit, spring up, and then run away from a fight to keep your
You
XP.
absolutely can, yeah. I didn't even think to do that, actually. And I'm sure as the game goes on, there will be some cool new systems introduced to show what else you can do with the resurrection mechanic.
Right.
So yeah, this is a new area, as I'm sure you've gathered. There's plenty of monks running around.
Yeah.
And at this point, I do have a couple of new attachments for my prosthetic.
Okay. So yeah, walk us through what you got.
Okay, so what I just used there was a shuriken,
Nice.
which is very cool. There's also, we'll see them in a bit, so I'll just talk you through them now. There's also like a firecracker dispenser, which is very cool. It lets out like this little wave of firecrackers that stuns enemies. And there's a little mini flamethrower.
Wow.
And so different weapons work better on different enemies. Like the shuriken do work quite well on these monks. And the fire blast kind of works very well on this big wooden beastie that I fought earlier in the game. I didn't get capture of that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like Dark Souls. It's like working out the best approach to each enemy, like their rhythms, their weaknesses, and then just go at them, basically.
What about armor and weapons? Though you say different weapons do, you know, have different attacks or whatever. How do you get them? How do you go about using them?
So the fella who crafts your arm in the first place, we're told he's quite important to the story. He lives in the sort of hub area of the game, which kind of works like the Firelink Shrine from Dark Souls, and so you can find, I guess, blueprints, which you can then take back to this sculptor, and he'll just fit your arm with these new gadgets and weapons.
Okay, so you don't find them out and about, or get them like boss drops or anything.
No,
like
well you do find the blueprints out and about, but you then have to take them back to the sculptor for him to craft them for you.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if you can upgrade your sword or anything like that. I'm assuming you can.
How much did you get to play?
I got to play about an hour, including a 20-minute tutorial, which we weren't allowed to capture.
Okay.
But I didn't get a very good look at the skill tree, but there definitely is one. So I would imagine you get to learn new moves and weapons, because there's this other fella who lives in the hub world. He's this undead soldier. Like, he literally can't die, so he just tells you, you know what, you might as well practice all your new moves and weapons on me, which is pretty cool.
It's good of him, yeah. Oh, actually, I don't know if we saw any of him at the start there, where he was just like,
yeah, he's
not dead.
the guy at the very beginning.
Ah, okay, yeah, go back and watch that.
Yeah.
So, when I was watching this through just before we came up here, it looks like you're just straight up murdering these people. Like, do you have any context to why you're killing them?
No, because the Activision rep just kind of skipped me ahead to this part, so here I was in a temple full of monks, and I thought, well, I can target them, so I might as well kill them.
They look like they're just doing their thing, man.
I mean, they might have been, but I was kind of hungry for the kill at this point. And so this is a really cool moment, actually. This meaty fella, this Chungus here.
Chungus.
So he does actually kill me, and I use the resurrection mechanic to finish him off.
Sweet.
So what's really cool here is that I clearly had no idea how to approach this dude. So I was just trying to stay as far away as I could. I'm not very good at Dark Souls games. I love them, but I'm not very good at them, and I'm sure that won't be a surprise to anyone who fancies leaving a comment. But this dude had some pretty devastating attacks.
Yeah, like that one.
Yeah, that couldn't be dodged. So he thinks his job's done. Off he pops. But nah, I get back up.
Nice.
And yeah, straight in the neck.
And that's an insta-kill?
That's an insta-kill.
Is that a stealth attack?
Yeah, right? That's a stealth attack.
Are there any bosses, or are they just sort of like, you know, bigger enemies wandering
There
around?
are bosses. I did not get to any of them.
No.
There are apparently one or two in the preview build, but I didn't get anywhere near them, unfortunately.
Right.
But, you know, I like to take my time with these games, i.e. I die a lot and there's nothing I can do about it. So that's just how that is.
Just how you roll. So the game looks incredible.
Yes.
Is it pretty linear? Is it open world?
We have been told, and obviously based on 1 hour, I have no personal evidence of this. I mean, the levels do look quite open, but we have been told about a third of the way through the game, the world really opens up, and it is interconnected in the same way that Bloodborne and Dark Souls were. So about a third of the way through the game, you do get to approach certain areas at your own pace and whichever order you see fit, which is quite similar to like the final third of the original Dark Souls. If any of you have played that, then you'll remember what that's like.
I mean, I haven't. I'm awful at those games. I've played Bloodborne and Dark Souls, but I've never finished any of them.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to talk to someone who actually knows about these games.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think anyone who's played these games will agree the interconnected world design of these games are genius, and they're one of the best things about them. So if this does offer that on top of the gameplay, this smooth, incredible gameplay, then I think we're looking at a genuine Game of the Year contender here.
Wow. I was going to say, we're coming towards the end of the footage now. Final thoughts? Excited? Any worries or anything?
I cannot wait to play more. I think it's brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to the full release.
Okay, well, we'll leave it on a death, I suppose. Thank you.
Seems about right.
Thank you very much for your time and playing it for us.
No worries.
All right, cheers. Oh,
Bye-bye.
you're back alive.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I fall off. Yeah, here we go. And yeah.
What a way to end.
That's it.